Hello and welcome. In this new series, we will be creating our own 3D rendering engine from scratch. In Visual Studios, our end goal is to have a game map and car rendered inside of our 3D rendering engine, and it should look something like this. So here we have our game map, and we can move around in it, view it from different angles. So we will have an object file and a texture, and our 3D rendering engine should be able to take in these two files and render something like this. You can have more than one objects rendered, such as the game map and the car, and they can be moved, rotated, scaled individually. So let's start with how 3D projection works. 3D projection works by taking a point in 3D space and projecting it onto a 2D surface. Say we have our camera and we have our point. On the screen of the camera, with the center of the camera being 0, 0, we need to get this point in 3D space projected onto our camera. From this top view, it looks like this point should be projected to the side on the screen, and that's correct. Say we had this point all the way out in the distance. It has the same X value as this point does, but it's quite far away from the camera. On the 2D screen, it would look something like this. You can see that it's a lot closer to the center of the screen than the point closer to the camera. So, further away points are closer to the center of the screen than closer points. We can represent this as X divided by Z. We take the point's X location, X coordinate, and we divide it by how far away it is from the camera. If we now do this to many points in the 3D space, we can project something like a cube. This is because the further away points of the cube are closer to the center of the screen. We do the same thing for the Y value to get the up and down coordinates. The next step will be to draw lines between these 2 points. This is quite simple. We just take the 2 points that we projected and we draw a line between them. We repeat this for every point until we have our cube. That's how 3D projection works. So let's open up Visual Studios and create a new project. We will select C#, Windows, Desktop, and we will find the Windows Forms app. Click Next, and give it a name. So now we have a blank form. We'll going to start by clicking on the form and going to Events and finding Paint. Double click it. This code here, this event, runs whenever the form redraws the screen. In here will be our logic for drawing the screen. So we're going to start by typing at the top using system.numerics, and then inside of our form1.paint we're going to type vector 3 point equals new vector 3. This system.numerics is just that we can use vector 3's. Now inside this bracket we're going to type 0, 0, 0. This is our x, y and z axis values for our points. And down here we're going to write the logic for our 3D projection code. So we're going to type screen x equals, just add int, and screen x equals this dot width divided by 2, because remember in our form this is currently the center, this is 0, 0. We need to make the center here, so that's half of the width and half of the height. So this dot width divided by 2 plus point dot x divided by point dot z. Remember this is our 3D projection logic that we learned earlier. And then we're going to type times by focal length. And we're also just going to write int like this. Just to make sure that it's an integer that we're going. Inside here we're going to type float focal length equals 200 for now. You can think of the focal length as the FOV, or how zoomed in we are in our image. We're going to do the same for screen Y. Except over here we're going to do subtraction, because we're actually going down. And so finally we need to draw our point. So we're going to write e.graphics.draw rectangle, then new pen color.red, you can choose another color, comma, screen x, screen y, 2, 2. So we're saying draw a rectangle with the color red at the screen X and screen Y location, and it's going to be too tall and too wide. So we're going to give our point coordinates of 2, 3, and 5. So 2 along the x-axis, 3 high, and 5 back. And if we give this a test, you'll see that our point is right there. So now let's add support for having multiple points. We're going to start by deleting that line, writing up here, list vector 3 points equals new list vector 3. Down here we're going to write for each point and points, run this code. So it's going to loop through this list and run this code for every vector 3 we have in this list. Now over here we're going to add some points to our list. So we're going to write points.add new vector 3. We're going to write -1, -1, 2. It's important to know that this value should never be 0 because we cannot divide by 0. Then we're going to write points.add new vector 3, and this time we're going to replace this with a 1, and when we hit run you'll notice that we have 2 points at the bottom of our screen. So let's make a cube. We're going to write points.add new vector 3, and this time make this a +1, and finally points.add new vector 3, make both of them positive. This is our front face. Now, to make the back face, we'll simply copy this, paste it underneath here, and change all of these values to 4. Now when we give it a run, you will see that we have the basic outline of a cube, the basic frame of a cube with all those points. The next step will be to either draw lines between these points or to fill it in with a solid color, which is what we will do. We're going to move on to making triangles next, because computers operate, most 3D renderers, or a lot of them operate with triangles. We will be splitting this cube up into 2 triangles per face, per side, and then creating a color for each of these triangles. So let's do that. Alright, so we will be going up here, putting this in brackets, and putting comma, vector 3, vector 3, because each triangle has 3 points. Now, we're going to hit enter twice, and we're going to write here, vector 2, project, points, bracket, vector 3, point, and then we're going to copy these 2 lines, delete them, and paste up here these 2 lines, and then return new vector 2, screen X, screen Y. Down here, we're going to write vector 2, point 1 is equal to project point bracket, and then we're going to replace this with triangle and do triangle but item 1. We're going to repeat this. So triangle.item1 is this first vector 3, item 2 is the second vector 3, and item 3 is the third vector 3. So we're taking each of the points in the triangle and we are projecting them and storing the 2D coordinates. And then over here we're going to write point F, triangle point equals new point 3, and then new point F inside we're going to write p1.x and p1.y. We're going to copy this and paste it 3 more times, change this to p2, and finally p3. We're going to take this triangle point and copy it. We're going to delete this and we're going to write draw polygon, new pen, color red, triangle points. Finally, we're going to delete our previous cube, rename this to triangles, paste this down here, and then we're going to draw a simple triangle. So for this we'll write triangles.add new vector 3. We'll do 1, 1, 1, new vector 3, new vector 3, make sure we put this all in brackets once more. And now we're going to change some of these points. We'll change this to 0, 0, 0, 1, and 1, 1. This should draw a triangle on the screen in the color red. Let's give it a go. And there is our triangle. One last thing to note, if you want the triangle to be filled, replace this with fill polygon, replace this with solid brush. Now when you run it, you'll notice that the triangle is filled. That's it for this video in this series. Try and see what else you can make, what are the shapes, objects. Feel free to try different colors and explore what else you can make in Visual Studio.